My name is Kurt Prenzler. I'm County Treasurer. This is Dr. Mike Firsching, veterinarian here in Edwardsville, Fort Russell Veterinary Clinic, and I'll just let Mike start.
Yeah, so what we have here is we have over 1,000 petition sheets here representing over 10,000 registered voters in Madison County who were really interested in this petition to lower the cap on property taxes. Pretty much the response I had when I was personally collecting is that people really just know that property taxes are going to be decreased, and they were very enthusiastic that, any sort of relief is really attractive to them. I just think it's a reflection of the community we have here in economic times that there's pressure being put at all levels. Pressure is being put upon government, pressure is being put upon citizens. There's not enough money to go around, and people are very anxious about it, and I think this stack of signatures is part of that.
Well, first of all, I want to say that these petitions are necessary to put a binding referendum on the November ballot to reduce property taxes. This has nothing to do with the public schools, but this referendum would reduce property taxes that go to the county. And why do we feel this is necessary? Last year I recognized that every year the county is essentially padding their budgets to run an intended surplus of $3 to $4 million every year. Most counties, if they ended up with a surplus at the end of the year, would abate their taxes. But in Madison County, we've had this tradition of taking that surplus of $3 to $4 million every year and just adding it to the reserves. So when I became county treasurer about 5 years ago, the county investment portfolio was $108 million. 5 years later, it was $148. And so today it's 35. It does vary a little bit. So it's 35 to 40. It's been even higher. And so Illinois state law, why am I interested in this? First of all, as county treasurer, I'm the tax collector. And one of the reasons I ran in 2006, I wasn't successful in 2006 when I ran for county treasurer, but one of the reasons I ran was high and ever increasing property taxes. The other reason I ran was, of course, the unethical behavior I was seeing here in the county, and of course we know what happened with that, with the former county treasurer going to federal prison. But high and ever increasing property taxes has been a theme of one of the reasons that I have gotten involved in politics, because I never had worked for the government a day in my life before I became county treasurer 5 years ago. And it's gotten worse, believe it or not. I think it was about 3 months ago I read that Illinois was second highest in property taxes in the United States. And then just about a month ago I read that Illinois is number one. And that's a sad thing. And as I've been talking to people in Madison County about this petition, I have myself been gathering signatures on these petitions. I've heard that people are very, very down about that. And we also know that some people are leaving Illinois because of a number of reasons, but one of those reasons is high property taxes. And so therefore, I believe it's important that we do, as all elected officials, in my opinion, have a moral responsibility to do everything they can do to reduce property taxes. So when I became county treasurer, one of the promises I made was to reduce the cost of my office by 30%. That's what I did, saving over $2 million cumulatively over this period of time. And then as soon as I became treasurer, the county officials here in this building pushed a 1% sales tax on the April 2011 ballot, which would have cost Madison County taxpayers, it would have raised their taxes by $20 million a year. And I fought against that, and the voters agreed. The voters defeated that 1% sales tax 81 to 19%. And then again in the fall of 2013, the county chairman, whose office is right behind you folks, went and wanted to issue a bond which would be repaid through higher property taxes to remodel the jail. I had one question in the finance committee meeting. That question was, are the citizens going to be able to vote on this? The answer was no. And that's what you call a backdoor referendum. Now, and that's important for Illinois voters to understand, and we're not dealing with that here But one of the reasons we have high property taxes in Illinois is because we have this loophole called the backdoor referendum. We're probably only 11 or 12 miles away from the Mississippi River. On the west side of the Mississippi River in Missouri, they have what they call the Hancock Amendment. And that means very simply that if a taxing body, a school board, or a county, if they want to issue a bond that's going to be repaid through higher property taxes, it needs to go on the ballot for the voters to vote on. And in Illinois, that's called a front door referendum in Illinois, a front door referendum. In Illinois, we have a loophole, unfortunately. That's called a backdoor referendum. And a backdoor referendum is when the school board or the county can go off on their own and issue the bond, and then what they do is they put a petition on the front desk that says, I want to vote on it, and if more than 10% of the registered voters sign that petition within a 30-day period, which is a very difficult thing to do, then and only then do the voters get to vote on that issue. If the voters are not able to get those signatures on those petitions, and believe me, I know how hard it is to get people to sign. Now this is pretty easy. I would say over 95% of the people sign this because everybody wants the right to vote on this, okay? But if people are not organized in their school district or their county, this is a very common way for governments, local governments in Illinois, to raise property taxes. People will say, why are my property taxes so high? I didn't vote on that. You're right, you didn't vote on that. And so I think the backdoor referendum should be abolished. I think that we should have laws similar to Missouri, that any time a local entity, a local government goes to borrow money which would be repaid, that bond would be repaid through higher property taxes, that should be on the ballot. Why am I talking about this? Because that very thing happened in October of 2013. The county board chairman said, no, the people are not going to be able to vote on this. We're going to do a backdoor referendum. I didn't like that. And so the county board voted, and by the way, it wasn't the entire county board. It was all the Democrats plus one Republican, and another Republican abstained, and 7 Republicans voted against that backdoor referendum. And I think it's also very interesting that the 2 Republicans, one Republican county board member who voted with the Democrats got defeated in the primary, and another county board member who abstained, he also got defeated in the primary. So I think the voters are speaking. This is not a one-day issue. This is not a one-month situation we're dealing with here. The Illinois problem with the Illinois problem and our local problem with high property taxes did not just start yesterday. This has been a progression. And so what happened at that point was that after the county board voted that way, and I'm not blaming the entire county board, there were 7 county board members, all Republicans, who voted against the backdoor referendum. Then citizens had a decision to make. What do? Everyone said, we need 17,500 signatures on petitions to get that on the ballot. Most people thought it was impossible. I wasn't sure if it was possible, but I said, I make the pledge, I'm gonna go out there and get 1,000 signatures. And I found that everybody signed it. Everybody wanted to vote on the tax increase. But this issue goes back to 1776, taxation without representation. People want to vote when their property taxes are being raised. So this situation today is different. This is not a backdoor referendum situation. This is a situation where the county is taxing for money they don't need, and they just keep adding it to the reserves. So this is, in my opinion, one of the easiest tax cuts we could make, because it's quite clear that no one's going to lose their job, no services are going to be cut. This has to do the issue here is excessive reserves. And another reason that people signed this petition was because this basically puts the issue on the ballot for people to think about and vote on in November. So this is a very positive exercise in our democratic republic, that people are going to be able to vote on this.